Welcome back, everybody, to the second official ever episode of the TriPod podcast, or aka the Pod, aka the Pod to the Power of 3, aka the Pod Cubed. And, man, I believe this is the second episode. I think at episode 0, which is The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham, and my second episode was going to be Monkey Man, and I ended up doing The Fall Guy as my second episode, which neither episode I have released yet. So this is my third episode, but officially second episode, because episode 0, The Beekeeper, was going to be a pilot episode, just something that I thought I would test, but I might end up uploading it. Ironically, I've not uploaded either the episode 0 or episode 1, so episode 2 hopefully might finally be the one on schedule that I will be releasing. I mean, we can only hope. At this point, my procrastination is living up to its hype. But anyway, the reason I sound a little bit... Let's just get straight into the movie. I'm trying to get or divide this podcast into segments. And generally, I'd like to discuss a few things up top and then do the review and then go on some side tangents at the end. But I think for the sake of brevity today, I will just get straight into the movie of the week, which is Boy Kills World, starring Billiam Skarsgard himself, aka Jared Leto. And then also starring Sharlto Copley, Andrew Koji, Jessica Roth, and Famke Janssen, aka unironically the better Phoenix, or Jean Grey from the X-Men. Directed by Moritz Moore. The film, I believe, had a release at a Canadian film festival last year. So the film is actually billed as a 2023 film, despite only getting its theatrical release the 26th of April. I believe in the US, South Africa, and Germany, as some of the film was shot in both South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa, and Germany. I believe the director is actually German, so directed by Moritz Moore, who's a relatively unknown director, or at least to me, as the only other things that I could see that he worked on his IMDb page is a Kumi 2005 movie, and then Ronin 2035, which I'm not really familiar with, a short, I believe. Both of those are shorts. Which I will try and find and just look up anyway, just for the sake of seeing more of this director's work. But the film was also released coincided by a video game called Super Dragon Punch Force 3, if I am not mistaken, which is a video game that actually, plays a big part with the plot of this film, as the two main characters, brother and sister, used to play this video game, which I also got to play at the Cape Town Comic Con that I was at recently. I played the mobile version. I do not know if it's got any other versions, but I did play the mobile version, which, wasn't too bad. It was a pretty good, well-animated game. Quite fun to play. Got a free poster that I did not keep, seeing as in last week's episode I did mention I got a signed poster by Sharlto and Andrew Koji, who star in this film. So, yeah, the reason I went to go see this film, it was kind of on my list. There was one or two things in the original trailer that I thought, was not that appealing. That being the voiceover. I did not know if that was a good call. The video game announcer voiceover to kind of be the voice of the film. I did not know if that works, and I will get to that in my non-spoiler review. But I did also tell Sharlto Copley that I will be watching this and reviewing this. So here we are with a cup of tea in my hand like a real man. at, I don't know, 12:15 on this Monday morning, the 6th of May. Fantastic. Mm. So, just some an interesting fact I read about this film is the main character played by Bill Skarsgård was originally considered, the person originally considered for this role was actually Pete Davidson, of all people. I just can't see Pete in an action role like this. But yeah, that would have been an interesting choice. I could kind of see it here and there, but it does seem like something that Pete Davidson would enjoy doing. But pulling it off is another thing. Maybe for the comedic aspect, seeing as this is an action comedy thriller, perhaps he would have been fitting for the role in that sense. But yeah, we got Bill Skarsgård, one of the many Skarsgårds currently active in film. Just quickly though, I did end up watching the Crow trailer. The Crow trailer. How would you say that? The Crow trailer, the Crow trailer, starring Bill Skarsgård, and just to kind of see what they would look like, seeing as I'd recently watched The Crow 1994, starring Brandon Lee. And man, yeah, I don't know, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't have too much against Bill Skarsgård. I think he's a fine actor, but uh, just aesthetically alone, the movie just there's just like one or two things that already in the trailer don't sit well with me. I don't know if he portrays that type of emotion and that type of character that well. Like, I don't know if I believe him in that role, if that makes sense. Again, he's a fine character actor. I don't know if this was the role for him. I believe a lot of people are upset that it's not Jason Momoa, which I believe Jason Momoa was on the Crow remake. He was tied to it for some time, tied to the project, and then eventually left due to differences with whomever. I think the studio, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we'll see. I'll probably end up having to watch that and just give it a go. But the trailer does seem to give a lot away. I will not go into that for those who haven't seen the trailer and do not wish to watch the trailer, but the trailer did kind of seem to give quite a bit of the plot points away and at least some of the bigger action sequences. I'm hoping I'm wrong there. And you know, I want movies to be good because it's nice to go watch a film and it's actually good. Unless it's a complete train wreck like Madam Web, which I'll continue to shit on for the rest of time for as long as I live. Because my honest opinion about that movie is that I will rewatch Madam Web once a year to remind myself that whatever movies I thought was bad that year, it could have been worse. It could have been so much fucking worse. I can't believe that movie exists. I can't. Anyway, maybe sometime I'll do a review in retrospective of Madam Web, but jeez, fucking hell. I'm actually annoyed just thinking about it. There's so much. Anyway, so let's get back on track here with Boy Kills World. I believe Boy Kills World, the runtime was about 1 hour 55 minutes. Not a bad runtime for a movie. It felt brief enough. Then it had a budget of $25 million US dollars, and its box office total, it ended up making thus far 2.4 million worldwide. Alright, let's get into the plot of the movie. And for the sake of brevity, I am going to keep this quick because I do want to get into the review and get to the points that I want to make. But essentially, a boy played by Bill Skarsgård is a kid that watches his mother and his younger sister get executed by the head of the Van der Kooi family, Hilda Van der Kooi, played by Famke Janssen, aka the Better Phoenix, in a yearly event called The Culling, where the Van der Kooi family makes an example out of 12 people by killing them live on television, actually sponsored by a cereal company in the movie. Anyway, and he spends the rest of his life training until young adulthood, training to avenge his sister and his mother's deaths by training with a man just referred to as the Mentor, played by Yayan Ruhian, an Indonesian actor that also played in The Raid, who trains him in martial arts and gunfighting and combat in order to avenge his mother and his sister, with his only goal in life repeatedly being to kill Hilda van der Kooi. That is his only goal in this film, and in preparation for another The Culling event to take place, some of the Van der Kooi family come down and pick some civilians, and during this he sneaks into one of their vehicles to get to their headquarters and to find Hilda van der Kooi, because he had finally found his opportunity to now kill her. Important note, the character, the boy, played by Bill Skarsgård, is deaf and mute. As confirmed in flashbacks, his ears were burnt and his tongue was cut out by Hilda van der Kooi after she had executed his sister and his mother on live television, which is quite brutal. And he gets saved by the Mentor, which is played by Yayan. And yes, it's basically very straightforward. He then just wants to kill anything and everyone in his way in order to get to Hilda van der Kooi, to make her pay for killing his sister and his mother. Obviously important to note that the inner monologue that you hear throughout the movie is the voice that he recognizes from the game that him and his sister used to play at the arcades, called, which I referred to earlier, Super Dragon Punch Force 3. Okay, let's get right into it. Non-spoiler review. Ooh. Alright. What works? What doesn't work? Unfortunately, I'm going to start with what doesn't work. And I feel bad because obviously I'd spoken to Sharlto Copley, which I'm going to name drop probably about, 500 more times, just because apparently that's what you have to do with these things. That I would go watch this film. He seemed very excited about it. I'm going to be honest with you. It felt a bit like a movie that is violent for the sake of being violent, and the action, something just didn't gel for me. The thing that was predominantly bothering me the most was probably the voiceover, which in the trailer already didn't sound well to me, but I thought, you know what, maybe sometimes audio in trailers don't translate as well as to when you actually watch it in cinema, when it is being shown the way that it's intended, because sometimes they over-edit the audio in a trailer because they want the trailer voice or the trailer sounds to also pull through, and everything else inside the movie sounds a bit dimmed and soft because the monologue that you're hearing, the internal monologue that we do hear, which is the video game voice, voiced by, I think, H. John Benjamin, who does a really good job as the voice, but it does take you out of it a little bit because it does not fit, obviously, to Skarsgård's character, who you don't know what he sounds like. But if you've constantly got this video game, announcer voice, which is usually like your title announcer or like your cinematic movie trailer announcer or voiceover guy, kind of like for honest trailers, it's fine for a brief period of time for like a trailer or the title screen of a video game, or for the KO, insta-kill, or fatality voice to come through. It's short and brief, and it serves its purpose because the reason you have that thick voice is to make those announcements prominent, because it is a prominent moment. But if it is constantly scattered throughout the film as your main source of dialogue for this film, it just does not stick the landing. And I hate to say it because I think they really took a big swing with this movie to introduce a fresh take or a new concept where it's not actually based on a comic book or based on anything, but rather create something where they create their own universe, which seems to be video game inspired, and then bring out a video game that coincides with the film that is actually the video game that inspires the characters in the movie. I actually thought the film concept is great, but in execution, I think maybe if they had a bigger budget, I don't know, they could have done a little bit more, because I feel like you can see throughout the film how the budget does fail it a bit in terms of special effects, especially large landscape shots, where things had to be CGI'd over landscape shots. I think that's where the budget fell them short, but I think they spend most of their budget in the action sequences, and I will say, given the small budget that they had, the action sequences aren't too bad. Like, it's good for what they want, and you can see that the director had a vision for what he wanted to portray, and I believe he got that, because whoever was shooting the action sequences were quite passionate about it, and I think they got the shots that they wanted. I just don't know if those shots are for me. I think a lot of the action sequences are a little bit too heavy on the shaky cam. It's difficult to follow what happens on screen. And the sounds are also a bit muted due to the internal dialogue that keeps popping over all the other sound. Because it's not, when you've got people saying certain things on a set and those sounds are being recorded and then they go back and ADR and edit it back into the film where it need be during a fight sequence for quips or whatever is happening, it feels like that sound is taking place in the scene or the location or the environment where they are acting in that moment, or where the film is taking place. But if you've got an internal dialogue that you can tell was ADR'd over, it really kind of removes you from the experience, because it feels like the ADR or the internal monologue is something separate from that which is happening in the film itself, which it's not. It's supposed to lend itself to the character, and here and there it does work. Here and there is a joke that does land. Here and there are places where this internal dialogue is not terrible, and I think the character's motivation and when you find out a little bit more about the character's background, you do start to see the motivation for using that voice. It makes more sense, but to me it just doesn't work. It just feels like almost like a parody of itself at times. Yeah, I don't know. It made it feel a little bit cheap, and again, I don't want to insult the filmmakers. Yeah, like, I think given what budget they had, they really tried to make it work, and I think again there's a lot that works for this movie. If you love violence and you love a lot of gore and blood, there are some sequences that I really liked, and I'll maybe get into those a little bit more in spoilers, where I can discuss certain things in depth. But yeah, the shaky cam, the sound editing in the film wasn't too great for me. I think it was just a little bit too much. I think they dialed it up a little bit too much and forgot to. There's this thing in wrestling. If anyone out there actually watches professional wrestling, where the difference between professional wrestling and professional wrestling entertainment, like the WWE and like its competitor AEW or the Indies or whatever, is that in order to entertain, you sometimes need to slow things down so that the audience has a moment to take something in, to observe. It's no use that you as the creator, the person executing the art, understands what's happening because you have all the context behind it. So if you have a scene where a really cool action sequence happens and there is like 12 cool shots that happen in the span of 3 seconds, you hit 12 angles, or the person hit 12 moves, or there was 12 spots that you wanted them to see, but it happened so quick, they're not going to know what to pay attention to. But if you're the person behind the camera, you've seen those shots during preparation, pre-screening, test shots, test footage, stunt practicing, coordinating, and then editing and post-production. You've seen that shot so many times that you know what to expect when that scene pops up, so you know where your eye needs to track. But if you are the consumer, you don't know where those things necessarily track. And if sometimes you don't let it slow down, you kind of lose your audience a little bit in those moments. And I do kind of think that this is something that is happening um, in this film. It's just a little bit too fast paced. It doesn't allow you to really take in some of the hard beats that you should. Although sometimes during the film they do that really well. So it just felt like a little bit of a disconnect between action sequences where one action sequence, it seems like they know this principle and they focus on it and they highlight it. And the next action sequence, it's just like, let's get as much cool shit in this small amount of time as we can. And I just don't think that really worked for me that well. And you blend that with the sound that kind of gets dampened by the internal monologue, the voiceover. That didn't blend too well for me. But props to them for trying. I think it's challenging to shoot all of that and do all of this stuff in pre-production and in shooting, and then afterwards you still have to edit in a voiceover and have everything land with what you shot, which I'm curious to know how they did that on set, whether they had someone perhaps reading some of those dialogues while the sequences were taking place, but I don't know how you would do that because you'd have to do it over a megaphone so that everyone hears, to kind of have the idea whether it's fitting the pacing, because that's also the other issue. It feels like the pacing between the action sequence and the voiceover was sometimes a little bit out of sync, which would only make sense because it's two things happening at two different times and two separate places, so they're not even coexisting at all. And if they did have a way where they did it, then I apologize for my analysis here, but it just feels like they didn't. It just felt a little bit disconnected, slightly disconnected. And then also, why cast Billiam Skarsgård if there's gonna be no acting? Because the character's mute and deaf. So it's like, could you not have perhaps just cast, maybe if your budget's only 25 mil? I know you probably want some star power attached to your film, and I think Skarsgård's not a bad choice of actor. But why not put maybe a stuntman in that role, give them a little bit of a breakout role? Like, it's the perfect opportunity to give someone a bit of a breakout role, because there is a little bit of acting there with the emotion, the expressions, and I can see why Skarsgård was the choice, because he's got quite, I mean, he's literally cast his characters based on what his face can do with expressions alone. And I don't think that's terrible, but I thought it would have been a good opportunity to maybe give someone of smaller notoriety, this role, seeing as your budget is this small and you're going to have a limited release anyway. Because there's not a lot of, there's no vocal acting taking place. It's mostly just physical acting, and what better than maybe someone who's a bit more of a stunt person, who's got that martial arts background. Because that's the other thing. Skarsgård moves so funny. He's got such a funny way of moving about. I mean, watching this dude run and do some of his fight sequences, and again, he's a tall dude. He's like 193, I think. So he is lanky and awkward, and he's well built. He's very athletically built. I mean, whatever juice that dude's on, I want injected inside me too. But it's just it kind of looks a little bit, and again, this is not an insult to Bill Skarsgård in any way, shape, or form, but he does kind of look like the nerdy guy that had just learned how to move athletically, or is mimicking athleticism to some degree, because some of his motions just seem a little bit unnatural. It just looks like a little bit of an uncoordinated person being taught how to be coordinated, and it just doesn't flow naturally. And maybe it's the fact that he is as tall as he is and he's got lanky limbs, and certain actions don't look as quick when he does it. But man, there was some parkour scenes in this and some fight sequences where it just, I'd say his fighting is decent. His fight choreography skills, whenever it is him, or at least it seems like it's him, does seem good. Because the camera is tracking in certain ways to kind of hide some of the big movement. So you don't see it as a whole. It's very choppy movements that you're seeing. But once the camera does track him and he's running and he's doing some parkour moves or whatever, it does seem very awkward. It does seem a little bit like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory doing something athletic. but actually being pretty good at it. And I don't want to shit on the dude. The dude's actually not bad, but it is kind of funny to watch. But that's a little bit of a side tangent, for lack of a better term, there. Um, Also, Andrew Koji, who I really love. If you guys have watched Bullet Train, um, he plays a really good role in there. Andrew Koji is a great actor, and I feel like if you're getting him for this film, you should have given him a little bit more to do, because I feel like a lot of his character is just him screaming in an accent. And it's just like, this is a guy that's got emotional depth, range. Like, he could give you a performance and a half, and instead, we just kind of get him yelling, which is a strange choice, in my opinion. But he's fun. He's a fun time in it. I thought he wasn't too bad, but that was a bit jarring. That's the word I was looking for earlier. But yeah, that was a bit jarring to me. And there is like a little bit of, I don't think this is much of a spoiler. There's a bit of a running joke with one of the other characters called Benny, which is part of uh, Basho, played by Andrew Koji's crew, played by Isaiah Mustafa, where his character seems to mumble and he doesn't speak properly. So Bill Skarsgård's character does read people's lips in order to understand what they're saying. So he just keeps hearing Isaiah Mustafa mispronounce words. So we're hearing random phrases and then trying to figure out what he is saying. For example, when they are planning or creating a plan to enter or infiltrate the villain lair, so to speak, the villain's house, so to speak. And Bill Skarsgård's character keeps misinterpreting what he's saying, so he pictures whatever he hears, which is quite a funny joke. I thought that was pretty fun. That's probably one of the comedic stuff where, you know, visually and in its execution, verbally is pretty good. So I thought that was pretty decent. Every time I think Andrew Koji and Isaiah Mustafa was on screen, it was a pretty decent time. But unfortunately, that being said, there are a lot of jokes that I feel miss, where there are jokes that are, it's like quips that are being done by the video game voice over guy, and it just doesn't land because he can't hit those quippy tones, if that makes sense. It's too monotone. So emotional depth gets taken away, emotional beats get taken away throughout the film, and when you're trying to be funny, you obviously need to hit a certain tone with certain timing. But if you're doing that voice, that becomes very difficult. It does become a bit monotone and bland, and I just thought that wasn't working for me. Unfortunately, that's the truth, and I don't know. It just kind of missed here and there. It really just felt like someone doing bad voiceover or lip reading for people, like those YouTube videos that used to happen, but not as funny. It's just like an unfunny version of it. It kind of felt like one of my friends watching a movie with the audio off and then trying to do the voice for the main character. It felt weird. It felt like a bad dub. But again, they took a big swing on this, and I feel like it could have been executed properly. Maybe if they ever do a sequel, or excuse me, if a sequel is ever warranted, perhaps they'll explore that a little bit better and execute it a little bit better. But it's just, I feel like it fell a bit flat, if I am being honest. I just want to check my notes here. The pacing, as I said, it was kind of all over the place. I felt like the movie did feel brief enough. They did spend a little bit of time building up the character as a kid first, and had a pretty cool transition shot, which I don't think is a spoiler, but as the boy is training, at one point he falls, and then Bill Skarsgård, reaches out with his hand and picks the kid up, and then they basically switched like a tag in. So it was a pretty cool way to show that time had passed, and now he's an adult, and he's no longer the kid training with the mentor. And I thought that was pretty cool. And, any fight scene with the mentor and the training with the kid or the boy was pretty good, because Yaya is just, I mean, his martial arts is just crisp and clean and good. And this is where the cinematography with the fighting suddenly had timing and pacing. And I suppose because you're working with someone that knows exactly what they're doing, you can let the camera rest a bit on the person, because you don't have to hide anything with a shaky camera. You don't have to create the illusion of speed or hard hitting action with impact framing or shaking the camera in order to create the illusion of a faster pace. And if you've got someone that's as professional as him as it, you can let the camera breathe, you can let the shots breathe, and it really works. There was quite a few fun scenes where he's training the kid up, and he's basically beating him up with his slip-on shoes, which is just, that was beautiful. It was really cool to see. And it seems like he was smoking a lot of something that the kid was also inhaling throughout, his youth, which had a few effects on him. But again, like, some of the jokes there don't land because of the voiceover, because these are story beats that would have been funny if executed with the correct voice. But with the video game voice, like I said, it just kind of sounds like a parody of itself. The CGI I already mentioned, but that's due to budget constraints. I really think, given, at first I thought it was going to be quite harsh, because when I saw it again, some of the CGI was quite jarring, but with a budget of 25 million, it's kind of like, what do you expect? Because I will say some of the action sequences are really well done, and I can see a lot of the budget went into that instead, which I'm glad that they did. Because that is where the movie thrives, and that's kind of what the movie is sold on to its audience. So I think it's a smart move, pushing your budget into the places that you intended to be the main focus of the film. I mean, the movie is literally titled Boy Kills World, so action being a staple there. So that does make sense to me. So I think the rating that I would give this on my try scale would unfortunately be that if you are looking for something to go watch at cinema right now, I don't know if I would give this a try. But I think if you do enjoy a lot of silly violence and over the top violence and action from a rated R movie, I would definitely give this a try. Maybe if you enjoyed movies such as Crank with Jason Statham, perhaps this would be your speed. It's like a gruesome version of a Jason Statham movie like Transporter. But I think that thinks it's funnier than it is. But I can easily see this be something that you eventually goes to streaming and you put on in the background while you're on your phone. You give it a try while you're on your phone and it's playing in the background on Netflix. It does kind of give that vibe a little bit. Just because in terms of depth, I don't know if there's as much there in the storytelling. It feels like the movie catered mostly to its action, which, again, if that's what you want, then this is everything you would want it to be. But if you were looking for a bit more stronger character work and a little bit more emotional depth in the scenes, which I think was damaged a little bit by the monologue or the internal monologue and the voiceover being done, then unfortunately I would not give this a try per se. I think if you're just a girl, definitely wouldn't give this a try. That is a bit of an inside joke, but yeah, this is definitely my dad would watch, like my middle-aged dad would watch this type of movie. So if you are a middle-aged dad who enjoys Jason Statham rated R films, give this a try. So spoilers. Okay, so I'm just gonna get straight into the spoilers. There is a twist at the end once Boy gets to Hilda Vanderkoy after killing basically her entire family, apart from Graham, which she makes an appearance in the film for a short amount of time. It turns out that Boy, the character, is the son of Hilda Vanderkoy. So it turns out that he had been brainwashed by the mentor into believing that his mother and his sister were the ones that were executed by Hilda Vanderkoy. But it turns out that he was there with his sister, who's also a Vanderkoy, obviously, on the day that he thought they were executed. They were actually executing the mentor's family. He had a son who had hearing aids in, so he could not hear. He seemed to have a deaf son, and his daughter and his wife got shot and killed by Hilda Vanderkoy, and the person that was left to shoot was the mentor, played by Ian, and Hilda Vanderkoy tries to get her son to shoot this man and finish the job, but then he fails to do so. He shoots the gun into the air, shoots a few blank shots, and then runs away, and the mentor gets away too. And his sister ends up being the character played by Jessica Roth, who I didn't even touch on in my non-spoiler review, which I wish I did. I wanted to give her some shine, or at least the stunt woman some shine that was her stunt double, because she fucking killed it in this film. Her action sequences are great. They're crisp. The stunt woman seemed to know exactly what the hell she was doing, because whenever she was in a scene and she had to do some fighting, she made a lot of the other stuntmen in the film kind of look second tier. So well done. I should actually find out who her stunt double was in this film. I think I'll quickly check that out. Stunt double for Jessica Roth. Alright, so I did find who it was. So from what I can see, the stunt actress's name is Jacqueline Lee Gertz. She seems to have been in Snake Eyes too with Andrew Koji, which is quite fascinating, but she killed it. And the Cowboy Bebop live action series. Huh, pretty cool. Anyway, so yeah, that seems to have been the twist, is that he had been a Vanderkoy himself this whole time, and basically after running away, he was in the forest or in the jungle, and the mentor found him there, wanted to kill him, and he was literally busy choking a child out, which is quite interesting. The child version of Boy, played by the same actor who played in James Gunn's superhero, what do you call it, horror movie, which I cannot remember the name of, and I'm not about to check or look it up. I think it was just called, like, it wasn't called Super, was it? I think it was called Super. Anyway, it was, man, so he captures the Vanderkoy boy, Vanderkoy boy, and brainwashes him into believing that his sister and mother were killed. And he is the one that actually turns him mute and deaf. So it's quite rough, quite intense. Puts the kid through a lot of torture in order to then eventually want to kill his own family, which he did not even know at this point is his own family. I should actually check out the cast list, because I want to shout out the girl that plays Boy's little sister. June 27 is the character's name, by the way. Jessica Roth plays. But the younger version of her, Quinn Copeland, is it Quinn Copeland that plays Mina? Yeah. This is who he thinks is his little sister. She killed it. She basically pops up as, I want to say, not hallucinations, but Boy sees her wherever he goes as, the little sister that he got to know. And she kills it. I think some of the scenes that they add with her are quite fun, and it adds a little bit of depth to the character, of Skarsgård, or of Boy. And it does help develop the character a little bit, because you get someone to kind of bounce off of this character that cannot speak. So whatever she says, even though he can't say anything back and there might be some inner dialogue, it does give you an indication of what this character is feeling, because she is obviously just a manifestation of what he envisions his little sister to be and what she would say to him in certain circumstances. And I thought the actress playing his little sister there, kind of killed it. So that was pretty good. But yeah, the twist was kind of underwhelming because I feel like you could kind of see it coming throughout the film. But given what he does throughout the movie, killing essentially his uncle and his aunt in brutal fashion, some deserving, some not so deserving. I mean, I think he literally rams a camera, one of those camera rigs with the arms into the one Vanderkoy's face, and then it basically picks her up off the ground on live television, and then eventually she drops. She deserved that, but then he also kills his which I suppose is his uncle, but his so-called uncle helped him escape by slipping him a knife, which is such a weird thing because you don't get much reason as to, or motivation as to why this character would do so. Hilda Vanderkoy's brother, like why he would do it. He just kind of says that he's tired of this shit. He's tired of the culling that happens once a year. But anyway, yeah, like some people, like it takes so long for him to also kill this guy, but then there's other side characters as per usual, like bodyguards and security that get killed so much more brutally for much less reason other than a cool camera shot. But yeah, that's something that I just wanted to bring up, which is the twist, which I just thought was a bit predictable, a little bit lazy, but not too bad, because at least we don't hang on the twist for long, because you kind of get a double twist, but again, you kind of expect it, where his sister gets told by his mother to kill him because he did not want to tell his mother, well, he physically can't, because it seems like nobody in this movie picks up on the fact that this dude is mute and deaf, despite the fact that he doesn't interact with them almost at all. I think at one point Andrew Koji's character literally jokes about the fact that he doesn't really talk much. And it's like, yeah, because you haven't heard the person talk once. Nobody picks up on that. They just kind of like look at him like, is everything okay with you, my guy? And that's it. It's just such a strange interaction. It just doesn't feel very real. But I'm going off on side tangents again. I think what I just wanted to get to is that his sister then ends up teaming up with him, and she kills her mother almost instantly. But judging, like, that you kind of expect, because the character or the younger version of Mina, or June 27, that he envisions and has flashbacks about, even though these flashbacks aren't exactly what reality is, because he's been brainwashed. She seemed to not like this totalitarian government that they're, or rule that they have, and she seemed to resent her mother because of it anyway, because they are pictured as flipping off statues of the Vanderkoy of the Vanderkoy family throughout the city. So she seemed to want to rebel against this for a long time now, and at one point when they're picking people to sacrifice, she does say no kids. But I really do like her character. I like that she was wearing like a helmet as well, and her clothing kind of a little bit seemed to be the color scheme, at least an homage to Kill Bill, which I thought was pretty cool. But her helmet had these little lights on the front, kind of like those lights that you see on traffic signs that come up for, there's an accident on the road at this point, this point of the road, or switch your traffic lights on, or switch your headlights on, don't overtake on this lane, or road work ahead, I sure hope it does, that type of stuff on her little helmet visor, which I thought was pretty cool. Although, how the fuck does that work? How does it work? Because I don't know how it works. It's not explained. There's a few things that aren't explained. Also, why is everyone addicted to the vape product that they sell? Is it a vape? Is that what it is? Is it medication? Because at one point it seems to give one of the security guys that was fighting with old Billiam, like regenerative powers, or like he was just numb to pain? Was it just cortisone shots that they're taking through their mouth? I don't know. Is it a drug? I don't know, because some of the characters do take it, but they don't explain it, which again is fine because, sometimes you gotta treat your audience like they're not dumb, but at the same time, just give us some indication, because I couldn't tell if it's just a vape. Is it a drug? Maybe it was implied and I didn't pay attention. I don't know. The sound wasn't too great. I also sat in the cinema where it felt like the sound was louder on the right than it was on the left, which acoustics in a cinema do kill me if they're not right. Oh, well, this one was right, but okay, that's a stupid pun. But the point being, there was just a few things that were a little bit, I think, could have been fleshed out a little bit better about the world. But I also do, at the same time, like that we're just thrown into a world and expected to just accept whatever is happening. The other thing is, and this is obviously due to budgetary constraints, so I do understand that this is just purely budget, and I can't knock the film for this too much, but the world does kind of feel a bit small. Mm. And I can understand that they are limited by location and the amount of people they can use as extras, but if it's this family, this super wealthy family that's got its like grip over entire city, you'd like to see more of those city folk, because if they're only picking 12 people to sacrifice, maybe that makes sense, because maybe the city only has like 500 people. I don't know. Just felt small. I mean, even the event that they hosted, the culling, the audience was quite a small audience, and I get that you only have so many extras, and when they were in the city and they were picking people, the people in the streets were just that much because you can only have so many extras. So I do get that, and I should actually, I think I'll give the movie a pass on that. I can't fault them for that, because if that's your budget, that's your budget, and I think they did a fairly decent job with what they had. And like I said, I thought I'd be more or have more criticism over that, and it'd be a little bit more critical. But at the same time, I kind of can. I've changed my mind on that. I kind of can forgive them for that, and I don't think they did a terrible job. So kudos to production, and kudos to them for making the most of the budget that they had, because I think the movie does look a little bit more expensive in certain areas than what the movie really is, and especially with the action. So I think the things that I wanted to focus on in the action in terms of spoilers is, there's one fight in the close to the beginning that, apart from the training with the mentor, with Yaya, there is a fight where Skarsgård's character has his first real fights with people that are actually trying to kill him, where this is where he meets Andrew Koji's character, which is quite fun. It was a quite back and forth between the two of them as well, with Koji's character helping him out. And he fights a few henchmen, and then there's one guy I think is called Dave. I think that's literally the character's name. I might be wrong. I mean, I could probably go through the character list, but I'm pretty sure his name is literally just like Dave, or is it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Dave. And it's such a funny scene where he's fighting this guy, and this guy keeps vaping this product, and I don't know what the fuck it is. But he's just so psychotic, and Andrew Koji's character does tell Skarsgård that this guy has got issues. But the dude, like, gets his jaw broken quite brutally at one point. He gets his arm broken or chopped off a part of it, and he just keeps... Oh, no! He gets his hand caught in, like, a compression machine, or a machine that's compressing his hand down, and then instead of just like leaving it there because he's stuck and he can't reach the button, he twists his own fucking arm off. Like, he literally twists it, like Gator rolls his arm off. It is brutal, and they show you everything. Kind of felt a bit like someone had a bit of a violence fetish, because man, that was a bit rough to watch. But anyway, and then he had his legs sliced off, and he's still not done. But that was a fun fight scene. Like, I feel like that was a pretty decent fight scene, because the camera work again was left to breathe. But then a lot of the other fight scenes, it's so much shaky cam that you can't really tell what's happening. Because then when he fights again with, later on in the movie, he fights with Jessica Roth's character again in the mansion. the Vanderkoy mansion, and then that fight is pretty decent because you see a little bit more of them. Note to self, need to get sleep before I do these things, and we're already sitting on an hour of recording, I think, so I should really speed this up. Unlike the camera work in this film, who should slow it the fuck down. The best fight sequence happens at the end, where Yaya's character, the mentor, finally makes it to the villain layer, or the headquarters, or whatever you want to call it, and he takes out a few henchmen, and he won't be satisfied until every Vanderkoy is killed, and this is kind of where him and Skarsgård's character are at a crossroads, because he tries to kill Skarsgård's sister, even though the mother's already dead. He's not satisfied. Every Vanderkoy must die. Which, again, it seems like Gram got away. I don't remember seeing her die. I think she just left off screen. Their fight sequence, it's like first a one-on-one between him and the sister, and then eventually Skarsgård gets involved. But that fight scene is beautiful. I cannot fault it. There are some bumps that they take that seem brutal, and it's just if you want something to feel painful, the way they did this visually makes it feel painful. Like, I was cringing here and there and wincing at some of the sequences. It was very high impact, very brutal. It gave you moments to actually observe what is happening. I felt like at times the action sequences did slow down a little bit, and I think for the better. And it was so beautifully choreographed. Yayan is a super talented martial artist, because damn, everything flowed so gracefully. And that was really, for that scene alone, I think it made it, to me, worth the price of admission. So overall, yeah, I can't fault it too much, the film, especially given the budget. But unfortunately, I think there are a lot of things that just missed between the humor and some of the strangely paced action sequences. I just felt like some of it, and the monologue, the internal monologue, there's just a few things that missed. Nothing really felt real in the world. It felt like some sort of alternate reality world, which it is to an extent. So I get that, but it just, some of the stuff really just did not feel real or believable within the confines of which it was presented. There was an after credit scene where the two main, Jessica Roth, June's 27's character, and Bill Skarsgård's character is sitting at a table, and they're eating the cereal that was the cereal that sponsored the culling. So that was pretty. It was a strange after credit scene. Didn't really set up anything. Apparently, though, Jessica Roth, I believe, she was part of the Cape Town Comic Con panel. I think she videoed in, and she still spoke about the potential of there being a alternate universe, like a multiverse type of thing that they wanted to enter. So there's more to her character's backstory than meets the eye. So, maybe they do expand on this. The cast seems to have had fun on it. It was quite funny to see Sharlto Copley in the scene that he had explained to us at Comic-Con, where someone, another character calls him a fuck puppet, and then he starts doing the action thereof. There is a very big scene where he gets called a fuck puppet, it's quite funny. Also, his death is rather funny. Andrew Koji's character accidentally drops a weighted tool on his head that he was threatening him with, so he drops it on Sharlto Copley's head, and it's quite a brutal death. So if you like that type of violence, you'd enjoy the movie. So I think just want to kind of cap this off and get to it. My official rating, I think, now that I've done the spoiler review of this, would be, again, if you like a rated R Jason Statham movie, and if you want something that is more action over substance, I would say definitely give this a try in cinema. Seeing it is a limited release, why not support it? Have the people make their money. But if you are someone that winces easily at violence and bones breaking or anything of that sort, or the sounds of any of that, I would not give this a try, unfortunately. Yeah, I just thought it was a bit of a swing and a miss, and hopefully the next person to attempt something similar is able to hit. And then, props to the people. I will say this, though, based on a lot of the action sequences, I could tell that the people that made this was very passionate about this. And another cool little factoid is I actually met the person that animated the end credit sequence, as that is someone local from South Africa, and they actually did a panel at the animation festival, the International Animation Festival in Cape Town. So that was pretty cool, a cool little nifty thing there. But yeah, so that's it for my review of Boy Kills World. Oh, wait, just another thing. I know Famke Janssen, I believe, had some surgery done, and I don't know whether that is just cosmetic or there's a reason for it, but I think it does something to her accent, because while she was speaking, I noticed some of her pronunciation of words. There's a little bit of a, I won't say a speech impediment. It just kind of took me out because I remember her as Jean Grey and I don't remember her sounding like that. But you can tell she's lost some of the expression in her face because of some of the cosmetic surgery that has been done. So I'm hoping it wasn't something that happened to her, in which case I'm sorry for even bringing this up. But it was just something small that I had noticed in it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's not even something super interesting. I don't even know why I put that much effort into referring to that. Also, there's a very brutal scene where Bill Skarsgård fights people with a cheese grater, or just a grater, and I don't wince easily, but I could. I'm getting queasy right now. I don't think I could handle that. That was a bit rough. That's something that I don't want to see again. I think that's what you also walk away with a bit when you watch this film, is there's a lot of scenes where you're like, I don't want to see that again. Anyway, so on to the next segment of the show, which is side tangents for the week. WWE Backlash was this weekend. I don't know if any of you watch WWE or wrestling. I do watch WWE and UFC on the side too, and I thought I'd just quickly touch on that. So for those of you who, I'll try and put timestamps in maybe, or I won't. I don't really fucking know. But Backlash was this weekend. It was Cody Rhodes' first WWE Championship defense on pay-per-view since winning it at the WrestleMania 40 from Roman Reigns, and he fought AJ Styles in a pretty decent match, which I found pretty cool to see. It was like a very wrestling heavy match, which, man, AJ can still move, but that dude, that boy is on the juice. That guy looks, man, he looks next level right now. I know he's talking about potentially retiring soon, but he can still move. He looked really good. Although I thought it was a bit stupid that Cody Rhodes did that like no sell to the Burning Hammer, which I'm not the biggest fan of no sells. I understand like if it's not the original person doing the move, it tends to be weaker because that's kind of like the storyline context or continuity, and we just all kind of accept that as a fact, but that's a little bit dumb. But I think the biggest takeaway that I just wanted to like mention about Backlash is like if you enjoy watching entertainment like that, I would maybe say give it a go, because the crowd alone, they were in France, was insane. There's like a shot of Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles in the ring, and the crowd is busy singing and dancing, and the cameras are literally bouncing, and you can see the performers shaking. So it's crazy. It looked like a lot of fun. But there are some questionable things. It's kind of like now that Roman and The Rock is no longer with WWE as of right now for the time being, it's like there's not much that they can do with Cody to top that story. So finding someone for a long-term booking for him in the meantime would kind of be a waste of time, because you're just buying time until The Rock and Roman comes back for the summer or potentially SummerSlam. But I do think it's cool that they're doing shows internationally. And I mean, I believe this is like the biggest live gate for an arena or something like that internationally that the WWE has had. So they are on a roll. They are on a serious roll. And also a shout out to, is it Jade Cargill? I think that's how you pronounce her name. doing that crazy move where she was just basically throwing the other person around like she was a rag doll. And I'm going to butcher her name now. I can't even think of her name right now. But what she did physically there was impressive as hell. So yeah, if you guys want something combat entertainment related to watch, I definitely give Backlash a go. It seemed like a lot of fun. And then I wanted to talk about, already touched on The Crow, so I'm not going to touch on that again. Although, yeah, I think I did mention that there is the 30th anniversary re-release in cinemas, which I think maybe I should go watch that in cinema. That could be fun. I also wanted to mention something that I watched recently. I don't know if I mentioned this on the previous podcast, but Conan O'Brien was on Hot Ones recently. And if you are looking for something fucking chaotic, just go watch that. If you enjoy any sort of celebrity interview where you want a little bit more of an in-depth look at the celebrities, obviously, if you're not familiar with Hot Ones, where have you been all this time? But Conan is, I'm convinced he's batshit crazy. That dude, the the fact that he probably has never done cocaine doesn't make any sense to me, because he's just wired like someone who is constantly on cocaine. But it was wildly entertaining. I've always loved Conan. I was quite sad when I found out that Conan's late night show would eventually end, because I think he's definitely like a comedian's host, because he really knows how to work off of comedians, and like his segments with Bill Burr, Bill Hader, Norm Macdonald, people like that have always been fantastic to watch when he interviews them, because he just knows how to kind of let them get to where they need to be. He knows how to direct them in a genuine and sincere way, and when he responds in a way that they don't expect, I feel like him and his guests would usually bounce off each other quite well. And then we're not even talking about Conan's skits and his writing ability, and the staff that he worked with, and what he did during the writer's strike so many years ago. It was fucking awesome. But yeah, I thought I would just say give that a watch, because that's entertaining as hell. Because Conan just completely no sells the hot sauces, and it's insane for this pasty white, Irish, ginger Irish man to just no sell a bunch of hot sauces. It was insane. And at his age, that's fucking crazy. But definitely worth the watch. Then, this is something that just annoyed me. I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw another, and like, I'm so fucking tired, but like, can Snyder fanboys just shut the fuck up? And like, with all love and respect, like, I'm even someone who's a bit of a Man of Steel and Batman v Superman apologist. I actually am. I watched the Zack Snyder extended cut of Justice League, and I did actually, at the end of it, feel like it was a better movie for it. Even though the extended cut is way too long, I did feel like it was better. And I think the story served better with a lot of those details added. But that being said, good lord, shut the fuck up. I think one of them were just talking about how people are butthurt and hating on Henry Cavill's Superman because of him being evil in Batman v Superman for like a few seconds in the future sequences that were shown. And then we're like basically saying that this is like 65 seconds out of so many minutes that Henry Cavill's on screen, and this is what people's focusing on. It's like, just shut the fuck up, man. Why are people treating Zack Snyder like he's this savior, this martyr from the sky that was there to save the DC universe somehow by giving us Batman but cool and edgy? He says fuck or whatever and he kills people. Like, oh, that's so cool, man. Taking probably some of the best characteristics of the character and making him uninteresting by stripping him away from these moral codes that he followed through with to a fault at points, which is kind of like the purpose of the character. Because if Batman kills in this universe, why didn't he just kill the fucking Joker? Why does the Joker still exist? And if there is reason and depth to it, why didn't we explore it? But it's kind of past the point. I think I'm just getting tired of still seeing like Zack Snyder fanboys comment on things and like act like he's all that when apparently Rebel Moon is not even doing that well, and that's something that he wrote himself, which is apparently just a rip-off of Star Wars and a bunch of other things, which I'll probably end up watching too. But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like maybe Zack Snyder has gotten caught up in his own hype, and I think a lot of people jumped on the release the Snyder Cut bandwagon as kind of like a fucker to the man and like a as a joke for the meme maybe. That's why that movement got so big, because it's like for the culture, for the comic book culture. It is quite a funny thing to do because DC was kind of causing a lot of shit, and I think what Zack was doing at least had a vision, and it was half decent. Even though a brooding Superman is not what we need when we've literally got a character that is seen as kind of his opposite, doing enough of that already, in Batman. But just can these fanboys just shut the fuck up? I'm so tired of hearing it. I'm just so fucking tired. It's been years. Let it go. Don't release the Snyder Cut. Just cut the Snyder Cut. Just leave it. Just let a dead dog die, or dead dog lie, sorry. I just stop trying to make it happen. I'm excited for James Gunn's universe. I don't particularly want to see what Zack Snyder would have done, because I don't think it would have been as good as people want it to be. And I think a lot of his fanboys are just really pushing for you to believe that everything he does is so fucking genius. And then you listen to his motivation for Batman killing on Joe Rogan's podcast, basically being like, yeah, but if Batman's in a position where he has no choice but to kill, then he's gonna kill. It's like, why write a scene like that in the first place if you're in charge of writing the fucking scene? It's just whatever, man. I just need you guys to shut the fuck up. With all love and respect, but please, if you disagree and you hate my opinion for that, just comment down below. And maybe interact with the video, share it with other people that hate my opinion too. But Jesus, just please stop, guys. Pretty please. I'm asking you so nicely, just stop. Let's let it go. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Oh, UFC. There's some development in the UFC heavyweight division, as there's been talks this week. Jon Jones addressed, I think, a fan question about whether he'd face Tom Aspinall, not Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira. And I think that is the fight to make. And imagine quickly Alex Pereira fights Jon Jones and beats him, who Izzy always envisioned he would fight. And now Alex Pereira just goes and does that. Then Alex is doing the Kendrick Lamar v. Drake to essentially Adesanya, in the sense that he's doing everything Adesanya couldn't and beating people that Adesanya couldn't. And it's amazing what this guy has achieved in the short time that he has actually been in the UFC. It's absolutely fascinating. This guy's like a one of a kind. But that's a matchup it's actually a scary matchup for Jon, I think. Because yeah, Jones can wrestle, and we saw what he did to Gane. Cyril Gane is an amazing stand-up striker, and he got basically out-wrestled like he was he was a non-factor to Jon Jones. This is a rusty Jon Jones that came back out of shape, fat, well, heavyweight, but still, who came back out of shape and rusty. Well, again, maybe he wasn't out of shape. And, man, he made it look easy. He made it look so easy against Gane. But I don't think Pereira is that easily foldable. I think, especially after training with Glover for so long, I can't imagine that his wrestling and grappling is that terrible. Maybe strength-wise alone, seeing as he seems to be gifted in that area too, maybe he'll be fine against Jones. It's just, that's a fight that I would like to see. I think that is like your next big money fight. And now Jon Jones has announced that he's got a date for a fight, and Dana is going to announce. So it would be crazy if it's them. It would be funny if Jones skips Aspinall and Stipe and just goes straight to Pereira. But I think that Stipe fight is a must fight for Jones in terms of legacy, and also Stipe in terms of money. I just want my boy Stipe to make some money. My local fireman. I really think he just deserves to get some money for everything that he's done for the heavyweight division. But yeah, then that would have to be Jones versus Aspinall maybe for the interim belt, which would be crazy. And I mean, Jones versus Aspinall. No, wait, Pereira versus Aspinall for the interim belt. Well, Jones versus Stipe. I don't know why I got so I was so confident in saying that. But you have Jones versus Stipe, and then in the meantime you have Aspinall versus Pereira, and then that would give Pereira the interim belt should he beat Aspinall, and then if Jones beats Stipe, then you've got that Pereira Jones fight, which I think literally would be the biggest fight to make right now, apart from fights that McGregor are involved in. But for the heavyweight division, that'd be mad exciting. Oh, the weird Ryan Garcia Conor McGregor beef, where Conor McGregor basically told, "Why is everyone beefing like this? Damn, what's happening? People are just hating." Ryan Garcia, for those who don't know, got popped for potential PEDs because of something that turned up in his testing results for his fight with Devin Haney, which, was a fight where he completely dominated Haney and made, it seemed like they were on two different levels. And Conor giving mad props to Ryan Garcia with that performance, personally going to go talk to him backstage, telling him that he wants to see a rematch with Gervonta Davis and all that. And even back then, Conor showed support to Garcia. And now, after Garcia popped for potentially using PEDs, McGregor is essentially just telling him straight up to go fucking kill himself. That is crazy to me. I don't know what the fuck this shit is. Garcia even responded saying that they should go bare knuckle fight and whatever, and then winner gets to keep Conor's shitty whiskey company or whatever, which is pretty funny. But like, what the fuck is happening? I don't know if it's Conor McGregor overcompensating for the fact that he used steroids, so he's trying to make it seem like he hates steroids so much that he's like literally threatening to kill people that he was cool with like a moment ago. But my honest opinion is just that Conor is not off of the snow on the bluff. He's not off of the white powder, the icy frosting. He's not over the do you want to build a snowman? He's not over. That's a Ryan Reynolds joke. He's not over the good old cocaine yet, because I think he's still sniffing that white powder and still just tweeting whenever he's on a binge. But that is fascinating. So fascinating how quickly Conor switched up on Ryan Garcia. Instead of talking to him personally first, just immediately post this publicly on how he's just shitting on him. Like, absolutely tore him a new one. And then the last thing that I wanted to quickly talk about is a band that I'd recently discovered. It's a small band, I think, out of Hawaii called Inoa. That is INOHA on Spotify, which is a really cool indie alternative rock, pop rock genre group that has a real 2000s vibe to them that I thought's really good. They have an album that dropped this week or the week prior called Aloha Inoa. And yeah, I just thought for those of you interested in some music, they're really great. There's two songs, Saturday Night and I think Seventh Heaven, that are two of my personal favorites. So if you guys want to give that a listen, I'd say definitely go give that a listen. But I think that concludes our episode for today. I said I wanted to keep it brief, and we are an hour and 40 minutes in because I cannot shut the fuck up, which is crazy. I don't know how the people in my life live with this. I'm sorry if tonight was a bit incoherent. I am super tired. Hopefully over time I'll get into a routine with these podcasts and have better structures and be a little bit more comfortable behind the mic and get to my points a little bit more effectively. But yeah, I think that's the show. Thank you everybody for listening. You can find me on Twitter at _ TriPod, all one word, TheTripod. You can find me on YouTube, The TriPod, and on Spotify, The TriPod. And yeah, my Instagram is still deactivated. I still need to figure out how to get that fucking reactivated, because that's useless. But yeah, hopefully I'll have all of that sorted out soon enough too, and then I'll be a little bit more engaged on my socials too. So yeah, thank you everybody. I'm still deciding what the next film is that I will be reviewing for next week's episode, but until then, have a good week, and then I will see you soon. Peace out. Cheers everybody.